Yeah, the first signs of this hurricane certainly rolling ashore across the South Carolina coast. We have seen tropical storm force wind gusts already earlier this morning, and now some of the heaviest rain and even a thunderstorm again starting to get closer and closer to the coast. And we'll have to watch some of these showers and storms for potential rotation as well. We're going to get more on that in just a second. But the initial feeder band that rotated inland hours ago has weakened once it got farther inland. That's good news, but it did already cause, unfortunately, some damage across the Charleston area. We've heard of a couple trees potentially already being downed from the system, and the worst, unfortunately, is yet to come. Across the rest of the far western Atlantic, it looks like the heaviest rain is going to be setting up from Charleston to Pawleys Island westward towards Savannah and Brunswick down I-95 along coastal areas of Georgia. And looking at current conditions across the coast, Savannah now gusting to 35 miles per hour with a sustained wind at 25 miles per hour. Northeast wind at 20, and Charleston, and it looks like Myrtle Beach, just a calmer wind at 3 miles per hour. Unfortunately, those winds are not going to stay that calm for much longer as the center of Dorian gets closer and closer. Hurricane warnings continue for the entirety of the South Carolina coast, I-95 from border to border in tropical storm warnings. Those do not include Columbia, but they're pretty close. So again, we're looking at tropical storm force conditions possible well inland, with those hurricane conditions likely along the coast. New as of about 2 hours ago now, hurricane warnings in effect for all of coastal North Carolina, including the Outer Banks. Looking at current radar from Jacksonville, we're looking at the center of Hurricane Dorian now, about 80 miles due east of Jacksonville, moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. We'd like to see that speed up a little more, but at least it's not stationary. It is expected to pick up a little forward speed over the next day or so, but it is still expected to bring some significant impacts to the Carolina coast. North-northwest again at 9 miles per hour. Winds are still 105 from the center. And speaking of the center, we're looking at hurricane force winds now extend 70 miles from the center of circulation, and tropical storm force winds 175 miles from the center. So that is something important to keep in mind as we talk about the track getting closer to the Carolina coast than it did the Florida coast. So this is a look here over the course of the next several days. By Friday morning, it's expected to be near the Outer Banks and accelerating away from the United States. But a closer look here, again, we're looking at the center passing about 20 to 25 miles away from the coast. So when I mentioned that the hurricane force winds extend 70 miles from the center, we need that center to pass pretty far offshore in order to escape the hurricane force impact. So that's what we're watching. This is 8 p.m. tomorrow night, and the center should be near Myrtle Beach, moving toward the Wilmington area, which means before that, during the morning hours tomorrow, it's likely to make that approach toward the Charleston area. Speaking of rotation, as I mentioned earlier, there is a threat for some isolated spin-up tornadoes in some of these bands rotating around the center. It looks like it's going to be focused near Charleston to Myrtle Beach, but it does extend farther inland closer to I-95, so do keep that in mind. Wind gust potential, it is highest, of course, along the coast from Myrtle Beach down to Georgetown and Charleston. Pawleys Island and McClellanville also included. Again, winds over 75 miles per hour likely as the center passes by. We've been talking about conditions worsening tonight, but they become even worse during the day tomorrow. Rain totals, they're going to add up fast as well. 6 to 10 inches or more of rain likely to fall from areas just west of Charleston up the coast to Wilmington. And thankfully for I-95, we're still expecting some minor flood concerns, but by the time we get to the Midlands, it is going to be a sharp drop-off in those rain totals. Here's the latest Futurecast, and we'll take you hour by hour here. By 11 o'clock tonight, the core of the worst weather still offshore of South Carolina's coast. Overnight, though, that's when conditions really ramp up and really, for that matter, deteriorate as the center of the storm gets closer. 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, the entire coast blanketed with rain and wind, and then that center gets oh so close to making a potential landfall around lunchtime, very, very close to Pawleys Island, and then also close to Myrtle Beach by 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Look at all the rain and wind still impacting Charleston up to areas of eastern North Carolina. 8 o'clock tomorrow night, conditions improving for Charleston, but it's not going to be until overnight into Friday morning that we completely clear. By Friday morning, we'll be in full sun on the Carolina coast with some breeziness offshore, but the center of the storm by then forecast to be near or just south of Norfolk, Virginia by 7 a.m. as the storm continues to gradually weaken and accelerate to the north and to the east. That is the latest hour-by-hour forecast. We're going to continue to keep you posted right here every hour as this storm continues to make its way closer to the Carolina coast. We're always online as well. We invite you to join our continuing coverage and download our Fox Carolina News app.